Justin Reid, $14.2 million cap hit. I'm seeing the Browns really going hard in the chat about releasing him, saving money. So just to back him up here on how much that would save us. So his dead cap is $3.5 million. So if we were to release him, I'm not saying we should, but if we were to release him, we would get about $10 million back based on the $14.2 million cap hit. I don't agree. I think Reid was fantastic this year.
The whole Justin Reid thing, if you do it with Justin Reid, you don't want to decimate the entire secondary. That will be wrong to do. Okay, so if you don't keep an Edwards, you got to keep, definitely a Reid here. Making $10 million. Because what was it that because everybody was up in arms when we let Honey Badger go. What was Honey Badger looking for? Do you remember? Do you remember what his contract was looking like? Do you remember that?
Oh man, I want to say was it about 14 plus a year? 14, 15 plus a year?
Let me see. Shoot.
Because what did he end up getting?
I
New Orleans.
I don't know. We have to look at that.
Here, I'll look real fast.
All right. But my thing is, for what Reid gives you, it's almost like you got to be able to put, he's worth the penny. Reid played, I think he played lights out this past year. His first year, he did a tremendous job. This year, I think he did a better job than he did last year for us. And so, people can sit there and say, yeah, well, should he be making this much money? Was, what are you looking for him to sign for? So.
Yeah, it looks like they gave him a 3-year, $28 million contract.
That was Honey Badger?
Mm-hmm.
3-year, $28 million?
So we end up paying more for Justin Reid.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
2 rings out of it. Can't complain about that.
Rings out of it, younger guy, right? That was part of it. Okay, and so
yeah, that's true. And obviously, if Sneed is gone, which it would sound like it's gonna be. We're looking at this list. That's a very young list, and I know most of these guys have 2 rings already, which is wild. 2 years in the league, most of these guys have 2 rings. But like Reid, and it seems like this year specifically, I think second half of the season, Reid really showed how big of a presence, how much of a leader he is in that team. And you can see the relationship him and Spags have with each other. They're really tight. I mean, he was the one who made in Spags We Trust t-shirts. He was the one who had a whole website made for those t-shirts. It just feels like he is the voice. Obviously, Chris Jones is the guy on the defense, but like it seems like he is one of those pivotal guys on that being a defensive leader on this team. There hasn't been any talk of us. I think a lot of fans are saying to save $10 million by releasing him. But what did you talk about? What you saw from Reid this year? I think specifically second half of the season, what we saw from him, because it seemed like he finally grew into that role of why he brought him in here. And it seemed like it flashed really second half of the season. I mean, you saw the way he was laying dudes out.
Okay. So the full disclosure here. Okay. I think last year, Reid struggled in pass coverage. Okay. And I thought that was one of those things when defenses was looking against us this year, or offenses are looking against us, they were going to attack that part of Reid. That's what they want to do. They're going to go after Reid, in the passing game with your tight end, safety, get the matchups. And what Reid showed me this past year was he was violent in his tackling, short tackler, did a great job covering guys. He knows exactly where to be on the field, but also too, like you're talking about his leadership and his voice. It's something that it's hard to put a price tag on. So what I would see game and week in and week out is him making plays. He was just making plays. So if we had this conversation last year and I'm like, hey, okay, maybe this is something that you might look at is, are we overpaying this guy? But this year, he completely validated the money to me, completely. And so I was impressed with Reid this entire year. I ain't gonna lie. I'm telling you. as good as our corners were, Reid was dressed right up there with them. And when you have somebody in secondary that can orchestrate what guys are doing and where they need to be, that's vital for your success. It really is. And so Reid gives you that. Yeah, he's super intelligent. He's kind of like the quiet guy. He's not like a big rah-rah guy, but he's more
lead by example.
Yeah, lead by example, methodical in the things that he's doing, right? And so he's helping this young secondary understand, where they have to be. That like you're talking about a pivotal piece, everybody has a role to play. Reid, without a doubt, is a leader on the defense, okay? And he's a leader in the secondary. We know the leader in the secondary is Reid. Linebackers is Bolton. And on the D-line and the entire defense is Chris Jones, okay? We understand that. So if you're talking about, maybe moving a guy like Sneed, right? You still got young guys who have gotten a little bit of playing time, but it hasn't been a full-time starter for a number of games, right? Case in point, Watson and Williams, okay? Justin Reid's a guy that can help out with those guys, okay? Where they need to play, where they need to be in relation to him and everybody else on the team. That's a voice that you need out there. He's an extension of Spags. When we talk about that, you're an extension of your defense coordinator. That's huge. That's a huge thing to be. When I look at safeties, okay, and I played with some great safeties in my lifetime, okay, from Mike Zordich to Brian Dawkins, to Greg Wesley, Jerome Woods, we talk about Sammy. I mean, there's a slew of great, a slew of like great safeties out there playing. Chenard. I mean, I can name them. I can name guys. And the thing is, what each and every one of those guys had, Jared Page, we can name them. They had the ability to put guys in a position. They had the ability to take what they had in them and put it outside on the defense. And so you would hear that voice. You would hear those safeties because you already knew lead by example. It was either lead by example or you're going to hear their voice telling you exactly what it is that you need to do. Okay? Justin Reid gives you that. He is that guy. And the thing is, you don't want no safety who's out there turning down hits. And so this year, he didn't do any of those things. When I'm telling you, he came up and I'm talking about he was tattooing guys. You know what I'm talking about, Deion Bush? Justin Reid was doing, he was laying some wood on folks.
He was all year long.
I love that, man. I love that. So, this is me an appreciation for Justin Reid, what he gave this year. Okay. This is a full appreciation for Justin Reid was able to do with our defense because he's an extension of Spags and those guys. So.
JD, this is also something too. I think someone mentioned, and we kind of talked about it last year, how like there was times last year, and you talk about his coverage, the coverage aspect. It just didn't seem like he was getting it right, and obviously that was his first year in that system, right? The year before last, not this past season, the year before. It was his first year in that system, and we often talk about how hard it is for offensive players to kind of learn the system and get it right. It takes a while, to really get it right. Defensively, same kind of stuff happens. The same kind of growing pains. I mean, this wasn't the same. The Spag system wasn't the same system he was running in Houston. I mean, it was a completely different thing. And he finally got that. And this year, you actually saw a click. He became that leader. He was laying the wood. He wasn't playing like, it wasn't playing when he was like thinking too much. He was going out there and doing his thing. And you saw that when the way he was laying the wood out there. He was kind of going out there and just doing his thing. It came second nature to him. And you saw that confidence this year where you didn't see that much last year. But you saw him coming to his own in this defense this year, which really it was kind of glaring from day one this season.
Well, that's being able to get comfortable in that system, right? And so as far as once you know a system, then you can just go out there and play and react the way that you want to, right? Before you're thinking through everything, okay, your moves and maybe you're a step behind on those things. So I'm looking at my man, I'm DeBrown, right? So, and I don't know Cincinnati. I'm trying to remember Cincinnati in the Buffalo games, how he played in those games. My thing is this: I'm DeBrown. I'm talking to you, my man. My thought process is this: if you know that you have guys, your team can attack a guy who is maybe weak in their coverage. Why weren't teams doing it more? Right? I mean, for me as an offensive coach, if I'm coordinator and I understand that this might not be your strong suit, I'm going to exploit it. I'm coming after you. And so I didn't quite see teams going after Reid like they should have. And when they did, he was in position to make plays, right? And look, and granted, look, I get you, brother. I'm right there with you. At times, you always wondering, is he going to catch up? Is he going to make it? Maybe sometimes out of position, but he will recover. Okay, and you're looking for some of that. A guy that may not have the speed, but he has the intelligence to be where he needs to be. Right. That's what makes a great safety. Okay, where you can't cover like a corner. Well, now you just got to know where you have to be. Okay, to make the play. So be all over the field. But Jay, you hit a point. I had the Spags skip. Yeah. My thing is, man, that's with Spags, he's a guy that's going to be able to tailor the best out of a guy. Okay. He's the one to ask Reid, and this is what I love about Spags. Spags going to ask you, what do you do well? What do you struggle with? How can we make this better? And he'll think through it. He'll go through it. He probably came and sat down with Reid and was like, hey, man, listen, there was a couple times maybe last year that you struggled. Okay, in the coverage, what was it that you think that you seen that might have had you slow down, or you weren't able to be there in time? So that conversation has to happen with a Justin Reid, but without a doubt, he was much better this year than he was his first year, no doubt about it. And I think a lot of it is, like you just said, Marcus, is where he is comfortable. He has ingested the defensive scheme as far as what Spags wanted him to do. So,
yeah. I mean, and 14.5 mil. I mean, once we lose Sneed out, I mean, it's literally like it's Reid and then it's a bunch of guys who are going to the third year. It's a very young group, and yes, they've won coming out of college. They've won 2 years in a row, but that still doesn't give them that like veteran to be able to teach the young guys. Because look at the safety room. Now, this is not going to happen, but just to talk about Amda Brown's point, look at the safety room. If let's say Reid is gone, you have Brian Cook, who has been a starting safety for half of 1 year. He's coming off an injury. And then Trey Dean, who I don't even know if he's going to be the guy. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of question marks there to safety room, which you don't really need that. It's his last year of his contract too. So, I mean, let Reid play it out. And as we know, contract year is undefeated. He's going to go out and do his thing even more so. And another year in the system, another year of confidence and being that guy. And even the way we were using him towards the end of the season this year, setting him on blitzes and stuff. I mean, I think he has sack against Lamar Jackson in the AC Championship game.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. I mean, and you and I, even on the show, we were critical of his play. It was like, And we keep it real, and he played his ass off this year.
He did, man, and it was fluid in his motion, able to get around. He showed me a lot. It was more of his ability. Okay, I didn't know a whole lot about him when he came from Houston. Wasn't really sure, but the first year was underwhelming. This year, I was like, okay, now it makes a whole lot of sense.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.